What is the strangest mystery that is still unsolved? An unknown group of people broke into an FBI building, and no one has found out who they are. But the best part of the story is, they did it by leaving a sticky note that said "Do not lock the door tonight," and it worked. Imagine being the guy who left it unlocked. Who was Perseus? From 1943 to 1946. The Soviet Union had a higher-level spy in the Manhattan Project, codenamed Perseus. This spy was a scientist at the White Sands missile testing site in NM and the main research facilities in Los Alamos. Perseus saw pretty much the entire project start to finish, giving the Russians everything they needed to get to work on their own bomb. The fact that they were able to do so within 4 years of the end of World War II when their nations were still devastated is proof positive that Perseus helped a great deal. And to top it all off, Perseus was never caught or positively identified. What on earth happened to the Trump family? Will the Delphi murders ever be solved? Who was the man on the bridge behind them? Edit. Oh my goodness. My first gold. Thanks. Came here for this. It drives me, and I'm sure those involved with the case, insane that there's literally video and sound and we still can't find the guy. Nice try, Netflix. You have to find interesting unsolved mysteries yourself. Nah man, we're an agency. I bet you can't guess which one. Close bracket. Also clear your search history. The U.S.S. Cyclops, a coal ship, disappeared with 306 men. The largest U.S. Navy loss of life that didn't involve combat. Of the 4 built, 3 sank without a trace. Sounds like you could solve this mystery by making a model of the ship. Asher degree. Girl leaves her house in the middle of the night during a storm and disappeared. The only problem is that she was terrified of thunder and lightning and had no motive for leaving because her home life was fine. Then her clothes and backpack were found a year later in an abandoned construction site. Is this the girl wearing all white that they think is buried in a parking lot? That one time when the PM of Australia went to the beach. It even coined the term "do the Harold Holt" when you leave suddenly or without letting anyone know. That guy who ran away from the airport hopped the fence and was never seen again. Lars Mittank. How TF Jesus found people in the Middle East named Mark, Matthew, Luke, AD and John. I know this is a joke, but the names are just romanizations. Jesus's name was Isa. The Boat's void is a region of outer space that contains no galaxies or stars, and we don't know why. According to Wikipedia, there are 60 known galaxies where there should be around 2,000. Not quite zero, but interesting either way. The Conca La Pass in Ladakh. This region lies in the disputed border of India and China, and is truly the most inaccessible places in the world. In 1962, the armies of both the countries were engaged in a severe conflict. After this, both China and India entered into an agreement according to which none will be allowed to patrol the region, but can keep an eye on it from a distance. After this, a popular belief floated that the Conca La Pass in Ladakh is a hideous base of UFOs. The area has forever remained a no man's land due to its territorial limits and is the reason why the UFOs have chosen it as their operational base. Reportedly, many have seen these UFOs, and both the Indian and Chinese governments are aware of these developments. In 2006, Google Maps 2 baffled the world with some images that look like military facilities. But till date the whole issue remains mysterious and unexplainable. Which of the 3 astronauts aboard Apollo 10 was responsible for the floating turd? Malaysian Flight 370. They're pretty certain the senior co-pilot did it on purpose. The Atlantic ran a piece about how the plane had to disable the autopilot to make a sharp turn. So it was most certainly on purpose. A hijacking has been ruled out because the doors were bolted. The pilot and co-pilot would have had a lot of time to call for help, but they didn't. The guy's motive for shooting up all those people in Vegas. This one has bothered me for quite some time as well. The guy had no criminal record, no history of mental illness, No known religious or political affiliations. Was financially well off. And no known relationship issues. Very strange indeed. Why people keep pouring money into a hole in the ground on Oak Island? If you ask me, the show is the treasure. They rake in that sweet advertising money while not actually doing much more than recap past events and share about 15 minutes of new content. The whereabouts of the last Gestapo chief Heinrich Müller. The last verified sighting of him was in Berlin roughly 3 days before it fell. He had stated he knew full well what the Russians did to prisoners and he had no intentions of being captured. As chief of the Gestapo, he more than likely had access to foreign documents as well as ways to replicate them. Both the CIA and the KGB spent time looking for him, but no trace has ever been found. South America. Probably. That was then a fail-safe. Disappear and blend into the country. They think they found a chain of forts in Venezuela used by NICE officials. In 1977 we received a radio signal from outer space that lasted about 72 seconds. To this day, we still do not know where it originated from. The wow signal. No. What's crazy is that the signal lasted 72 seconds because we only had the recording capabilities for 72 seconds. It went on longer. Death of Ray Rivera. Found dead in a meeting room in a hotel. Fell through the roof. The last call he received was from his office, but the company placed all employees under a gag order so no one can talk to police. I too watch the new Unsolved Mysteries lol. No, but seriously, this case is horrible and fascinating and I want answers. For his poor wife and family. WTF happened? What about his super sketchy one of his best friends that he worked with not saying a word? That note he left? It's a crazy story and I have so many questions. Where the FCK are all the 10mm sockets going into hiding? Possibly an underground city just for them? Some company should make a mechanics tool set that's just like a dozen 10mm sockets. Why did they stop making the grooved Nerf Turbo football? Why Burger King didn't make the Smokehouse Cheddar Burger a permanent menu item? Oh god. Here I go on another 2 hours binge of reading every comment in the thread. The 1987 Arkansas murders of Don Henry and Kevin Ives. And every single possible witness surrounding them. Like Keith McCaskill, who claimed to be on the tracks that night. He talked to the special prosecutor about what he saw. Then realized the prosecutor was dirty. After coming forth as a witness, he began saying goodbye to his loved ones and planned his own funeral arrangements. Shortly after, he was stabbed 113 times. What happened to Brian Schaffer? Yes. How the hell did he make it out of that bar without being seen? And after losing his whole family under sad circumstances. I hope his brother gets the chance to learn what happened to Brian. How her snap score went up while she's been in the shower for the past 141 weeks. I think she's snapping pictures of the shower head demo. The cancer paradox. It's about creatures like elephants and blue whale and how they don't get cancer when they should be more prone to it. I like. Elephants have extra copies of certain genes that create the cells that destroy mutated cells. Which is why they don't get cancer. What happened to DB Cooper? My favorite theory is that DB Cooper re-emerged decades later as Tommy Wiseau. Who killed Jeffrey Epstein? An 8-year-old kid says he was killed with an axe. The kid brought them to the exact location and after some digging they found an axe and remains. The kid told the police who killed him and after interrogation he admits to killing someone. No one knows how the kid knew all this. Source: The Artemim Shud case, also known as the mystery of the Summerton Man, is an unsolved case of an unidentified man found dead at 6:30 am. The 1st of December 1948. On Somerton Parker Beach. Just south of Adelaide. South Australia. The case is named after Thea Persian Afrasa Artemim Shud, meaning ended or finished, which was printed on a scrap of paper found months later in the fob pocket of the man's trousers. The scrap had been torn from the final page of a copy of Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Authored by 12th century Potomacaean. Artemima was misspelled as Sartemina in many early reports. And this error has often been repeated, leading to confusion about the name in the media. The Sodder Children FFS. I think it was the insurance salesman that had tried to sell them stuff right before the fire. He apparently threatened them that their house would go up in smoke or something to that effect. The identity of and what happened to D.B. Cooper. A man on a plane called himself D.B. Cooper and claimed to have a bomb in his suitcase. He took the flight crew hostage, and when he got the money he asked for, he had the flight crew start flying again. Eventually he jumped out of the plane with a couple of parachutes and the money. No one knows where he went or if he even survived. How in a country of over 300 million people, the U.S. can't find any better presidential candidates. The most qualified people, who would make the best president in history, are too smart to want to be president. Spontaneous human combustion. It is a real thing. Or at least there is some kind of phenomenon that has occurred through documented and even eyewitnessed cases. The strangest part is that the fires burn hot enough to completely destroy the body, yet the surrounding environment experiences little damage. Though there are many theories, we don't know how it actually happens. It is extremely rare. The podcast Unexplained Mysteries did a good 2-part episode on it. Here's part 2. The Overton Bridge. It's a bridge in Scotland where dogs always unexplainably jump off. It's very strange and nobody knows why they do this. Dogs who survived reportedly walked back up and jumped off again. They even had to put up a warning sign to keep your dog on a leash and to watch them. A dog psychologist says maybe it's because of certain scents or animals down below. But most people have disagreed this theory. It's fucking weird. According to what I've read, dogs can see the drop when they jump on the edge and believe it to be a flat plane. And when, or if, they sense an animal nearby, they'll jump, thinking it's a simple hop, only to end up in the ravine beneath. Maura Murray in the Springfield 3. Would love both of the missing persons cases to be solved in my lifetime. Also, a local guy went missing after a car accident in 2011. Would like answers on that as well. I love cold cases. There's something so creepy yet so fascinating about an unsolved murder. Especially if it was a high-profile case or a case that happened a long time ago. My personal favorite cold case is the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson because it was both high-profile and happened over 20 years ago. Yet it remains unsolved to this day. It's my favorite cold case to research. And I hope to live to see the case solved and the murderer brought to justice. I was a couple of minutes into a thoughtful reply when I registered the huge puddle of sarcasm. Project Cicada or something. The Lady of the Dunes. No one knows who she is. It's a pretty crazy story. Stephen King's son Joe Hill made a theory that she was an extra in the movie Jaws since a woman in the background of the movie looks very similar to her and can be seen in the same clothes the Lady of the Dunes. It makes a lot of sense but doesn't really explain who killed her or anything. Whatever happened to that missing Malaysian flight? It just took a couple of crazy turns and then completely disappeared from the radar. Epstein and the global billionaire political pedophile child sex trafficking ring. Who killed John Bennett Ramsey? From everything I've read about this, I'm pretty convinced it was the brother and that the parents were protecting him. Shoulder putter, serious, tag on this. This could have been a great read. You could try reading the same question from yesterday. Not sure if it had a serious tag. But the responses were good. Where does that other sock inevitably disappear to never to be seen again? Check inside the washer. I've seen them sneaking over the edge between the drum and the walls of the washer. The death of John Lang. He was a journalist who lived in Fresno, CA, and he reported on the police's extortion of the poor. The police started camping outside his house and several mysterious vehicles repeatedly circled his street. Eventually his house burned down and he died. His channel is on YouTube and his CCTV footage is all up there available for your perusal. After seeing how the Minneapolis PD tried to cover up George Floyd's death, They fabricated the results of his autopsy. It doesn't make this story seem like that much of a far cry from reality. Antikythera mechanism. They solved that one. It's the earliest form of a computer which accurately predicts eclipses and astronomical positions. I saw somewhere where scientists made a working replica of it. The universal S. The one we drew in elementary school. It could be anywhere from decades old to thousands of years old. What and who exactly wrote the Voynich manuscript? That huge UFO that traveled across the southwest US that was filmed and seen by tens of thousands of people. Edit, since a lot of people are asking. The event is usually called the Phoenix Lights. Been years since I read about it, but basically what appeared to be a huge craft flew around the southwest US for a while. Tens of thousands of people saw it, including cops and off-duty military. People who it flew over reported that even though it was night and couldn't really be seen, it was large enough to block out the stars. There are many videos of it online. The lost colony, I believe in the late 1500s, where the whole town disappeared overnight. I remember reading this in elementary school and I still think about it. The lost colony of Roanoke. Another comment on here ended up with a pretty solid explanation in the replies if you can find it. They probably just had a hard time existing while the rest of the colony sailed off and they ended up boning and hanging out with the natives. Flight 19 of the 5th of December, 1945. 5 bomber craft on a routine training run became lost while heading back and eventually disappeared entirely. Audio has them saying that they thought they had ended up over the Florida Keys. But wind could not have allowed that. Even more interesting is the fact the rescue craft dispatched to locate them also disappeared. Roanoke. Actually, we have a pretty good theory as to what happened. It's assumed they joined forces with a group of natives, as many white and blonde natives were spotted in the area. The double slit experiment and wave particle duality. Essentially, particles change simply by being observed. The ramifications being that essentially if a tree falls in the forest, it may not actually make a sound if no one is around to hear it. We may in fact be living in a simulation. The Tylenol murders from the 1980s, where like 5 or 6 people from Chicago consumed Tylenol laced with cyanide and died. They had one suspect but he went nail for it, but still went to prison because they tried to extort Johnson & Johnson, the company that makes Tylenol. Edit. Autocorrect sucks. How I'm still single when my mom says I'm a handsome boy. Although I think no one will see this, my favorite mystery was when AskReddit asked what was the scariest thing seen on the job for park rangers. Multiple rangers commented about random stairwells in the middle of nowhere. Weird things often happened around them and some of the higher ups told them to never go up them. But no one knew why or what they were from. They weren't old tailings. Who put Bella in the witch elm? The person that keeps leaving Capri's sun pouches all over the house. Apparently it's some assholes called Nodman. I ever find him, I'm going to kick his ass. Albert Johnson, the Mad Trapper of Rat River. A pretty cool, mostly forgotten story about a man chased by the RCMP through the north. Brian Schaffer went into a bar in Ohio in camera. Was never seen leaving and has been missing 14 years. It's unreal. I recommend True Crime Garage. Young children reincarnation stories that are amazing and very hard to disprove factually because of the very odd sequence of events. I believe there's several very good cases. One with twin girls and another with a young boy. Can't recall their names off the top of my head, but a Google search would probably yield the info quickly if anyone is interested in reading up on it. Assassination of JFK. There's so many layers and conspiracies behind it. A lone gunman named Lee Harvey Oswald shot and killed JFK from a book depository building. This was his second attempt at assassinating a person that year. He fired 3 bullets. He missed the first shot and hit the president with the other 2. Afterwards he ran and killed a police officer. The Max Headroom incident. I just want to know why. Simply because they could. AV nerd prank. The Black Dahlia. The disappearance of the Bowman children, the 26th of January 1966. Bowman children disappearance. The Green Children of Woolpit is definitely the strangest mystery. We still have no definitive proof of who this Socrates guy is. On one hand, he's mentioned constantly by philosophers from his time, often used as an example character, and several works are attributed to his name. On the other hand, we have countless legal records and censuses that confirm the existence of Aristotle and Plato, but none that link back to Socrates. He's either a very prolific philosopher, or an in-joke that classical philosophers would reference when they didn't know who to attribute quotes to. In the mid-70s, my imitation rose zircon ring, clad in genuine 10K gold, went missing during a slumber party at Cherie's house. I've always suspected it was Marcia, but she denied it. She's dead now, and I'll always wonder if my ring went to the great beyond with her. The reason why people think vaccines are bad. Because in 1998 the British medical journal The Lancet published a study by Dr. Andrew Wakefield, based on data he had faked, connecting the MMR vaccine with increased risk of autism. He did this to sell sham autism testing kits.